sharing my story and being there and being vulnerable and transparent for those who need to know they're not alone. Thank you, Paxton.
Hey, you are a spark. Some people ignite others. You literally spark others. And there's a big difference. I'm not going to do it right now, but everybody, if you want to know, look up the definition between the two words. You are indeed a spark for people. Do me a favor, please. Introduce and let's get everybody else to introduce themselves.
All right, who's going? Leon?
Hi, I'm Leon Walker, retired Navy, 32 years. I was diagnosed many years ago. Didn't even realize that I was living that life. I'm an author. I love to help people. I love people. I'm divorced. I have 3 children, 3 adult children. I have 3 godchildren, not grandchildren, godchildren. I have a dog. I love to exercise, work out, love to laugh. And my biggest thing is helping people get through this narcissistic behavior, relationships. By telling my truth, and I know I trigger people. I know I don't do it on purpose, but I get women to say, "You son of a, you make my skin crawl." I know I don't mean to do that, but now I mean, and I tell you, medicine doesn't help. The pills don't help. Therapy. I've seen 3 psychiatrists and 1 psychotherapist and a social worker over my lifetime. Okay,
wow.
Pills do not work. But anyway, I'm here. I'm gonna continue helping. I never planned to talk about this. I did a video a few months ago and it went viral and it spooked me because I was like, I didn't know how bad this was. I knew how bad off I was. I knew that I didn't love, I couldn't care, I was a cheater, deceitful, I was a liar. But I didn't know after I started talking about it how bad it was. So I'm here to help people.
Awesome. Go ahead, Sally.
All right. So Darcy,
I'm back. I had to swipe my daughter's iPad. I don't know what was going on with my laptop. Sorry about that.
You look fantastic.
Thanks.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit, Darcy?
Yes, I am. I'm Darcy Brown. I am a mental health consultant, and I deal primarily with people who are dealing with all kinds of mental health, but primarily bipolar disorder, because that's what I've been living with for the past 30 years, as well as narcissistic abuse, which I've been dealing with my whole life. So those two things kind of dovetail nicely together, unfortunately. But I pretty much am the liaison between people who are in crisis and people who need professional help immediately. So I can provide peer support and then get you to the person that's going to give you your meds or, whatever psychiatric or psychological help you're going to need.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. And Amber, last but not least.
Hey, everybody. I'm Amber. I am a single full-time mother of a 4-year-old, so you're going to hear her in her concert in the background probably. We're all about Christmas music right now. Aww. So I have 6 months ago gone no contact with my parents. My father, who's a narcissist, and my mother, who I believe has BPD disorder or borderline personality disorder. I'm not really sure. I'm still working through that stuff. Yeah. Okay, cool. I just don't know. And I'm on a healing journey. I'm on a healing journey of healing the inner child within. I've recently learned that my entire life I've had ADHD and been punished for it. And being a parent with ADHD, not knowing, and also witnessing the mirror in your own child of the utter frustration of not being able to slow down or stop is quite the challenge. So I'm here for all of those single parents out there who might come from religious background parents. That's what I come from. And the need to control your situations and learning how to let go of that need to control and the understanding of inner peace and how to find it within. That's what I'm here for. I'm also learning how codependency is a great addiction that we all have here in our reality. I think many people suffer from the addiction to codependency, whether it be to narcotics or alcohol or to love and sex. Those are things that I am starting to kind of go over on my own Instagram page. I also do oracle card readings. So I help people kind of find what it is that they're addicted to or what it is that they're being challenged by through spiritual practices, which I know that we're not going on that topic, but that's also what I do. And I just have been learning that my whole story is something that is not unique necessarily. Many people go through this struggle, and I'm finding lots of people that are experiencing a lot of the same things that I'm experiencing. So as I go through my journey, I share it on Instagram, and I keep finding more and more people who hear me and see me, and that's what our inner child needs, is to be heard and seen and felt loved. So I am spreading that with other people who also require to feel the same thing. So yeah, that's me.
Wow, so important. Thank you so much.
I have a question for each one of you. What made you say yes to today?
I have no choice in the matter, lady. I owe a debt to society.
I knew you were going to say that. You're a debt to society.
And it's not just like I'm gonna pay you back. No.
Yeah.
God, and I'm not even a biblical dude. I can't quote, but I woke up this summer and he said you need to start talking about this, and so I'm always tell you, yeah. Plus, I like it.
Oh man, you too good as a special guest today, ladies. Who wants to go?
I'll go. Obviously I was going to say yes because I loved speaking with you the first time around and I love what you do. But I also feel like we're hot off of the Thanksgiving and rolling into Christmas right now. And it's just, if you've got a dysfunctional family, that will trigger the hell out of you. So I think that we all need to make sure that we're not alone, that we have people that understand what we're going through. It's okay to say no contact to your family, even if it's family. So just, it's a good time to be protecting ourselves and making sure that we are surrounding ourselves by people who lift us up instead of bringing us down or bringing us back to patterns that are no longer serving us in any way. So I don't know. And it's always valid. Anyone with mental illness at any time of year, and this is a really hard time of year for a lot of people, I just want everyone to know that there are resources and you can always ask for help. It's not shameful. It's something that you can, absolutely do for yourself. And there will always be people that will support you. Some will run, but some will stick by you. So that's about
it.
Oh, gotcha.
She got you.
We know your reasons for being here, Amber.
So for me,
I love it.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, can mommy talk real quick?
That's a big reason to be here. That's
Thank
for
you
sure.
so much. So for me, a year ago, Paxton had reached out to me when he was first starting a lot of his stuff with Red Flag podcasts and things like that. And for me, I hadn't really spoken up about my trauma or my abuse. I was one of those adult children of dysfunctional families without knowing. And I had no idea what I had been going through and what I was continuing on, because what I've learned now a year later is that trauma is passed down from generation to generation. And so my daughter was 3 at the time when I met Paxton, and I had no idea that I was passing my trauma down to my child at the time. And I hadn't done any of the work. Can you wait your turn real quick? Can you wait your turn? Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yep, wait your turn, okay? Thank you for saying excuse me. A year later, I had taken an entire break from Instagram. I was diving into my Oracle cards on Facebook. I had begun a group, and within 2 months of my group, I had over 300 followers of my group, which was huge for me. But then something wasn't feeling right. Something wasn't sitting right. I got really excited, and a big, huge explosion happened in my house for me emotionally. And I decided to leave. And when I left, I went to Colorado Springs as a getaway. And when I went there, my very first day back up in Thornton after Colorado Springs, I got on Instagram randomly. And the very first day, Paxton went live with a couple of really amazing people. And it was synchronistic to the timing. It was as if it picked me up right where we left off. And so Paxton has always offered a safe space. And I want to be very clear that I'm here because when we share our story and when we share our voice, we give a voice to people who don't have a voice. And Paxton has always had other people on his show who helped give me a voice, who I am now really good friends with, including Thriving with Raven and May Wish. Those two people are absolutely amazing and very close to my heart. So I appreciate this safe space, and I will always show up here because I know it helps give a voice to other people.
And you're an amazing person. All of you, all three of you just saying that. Sally, you on the other hand, what made you give up your Clubhouse as being part of the Clubhouse Queen of Queens to be here on YouTube with us?
Well, it's like, I think like they all said, you just say yes. Any chance you get to spread the word. I think because a lot of the people are still in the dark about this, and second guessing themselves, which was the worst part of the whole type of abuse, was doubting myself.
Can you say that again? Second guess. Can you say that again?
The worst part was
good.
second guessing ourselves.
That's
you
good.
know,
Yeah.
that's the worst part of this abuse. It's like, who do you trust? You can't even trust yourself. Well, you feel that way, but once you know, you're not alone. So any chance to get the word out there, and of course, Paxton, your platforms are amazing and exciting that you're on YouTube now. So YouTube Live. So I wouldn't miss it.
Well, be it that we're live, and I'm glad, Leon, you asked her to repeat that. Sally, you repeated that because as I navigate here, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to pull up something here for everyone, and then we're going to start the show on certain subjects. And let's go ahead. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do this. Now, everyone here, let's see if I get this over here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Now, we're going to start the show off here. Sally has been kind enough to agree to co-host with me this show, which means I'm going to be navigating, getting used to being here on YouTube, totally different than Instagram, putting certain things up on the screen that the panel of people in front of you will go through. This platform, as it is on Instagram, is not for everyone. We don't chase subscribers, views, clicks, and all the above. We're about the information. We're about being positive, informative, and encouraging. So let's do it. Cycle of narcissist abuse. Idealize, devalue, discard, Hoover. Let's work from this template. Sally, feel free to take the lead on the first one, and let's start the group off and going and talking about this narcissistic abuse. The majority of the people that watch this, by the way, for those of you who don't know me or what we're doing here, all of us, the majority of people that watch our shows are people who are just beginning their journey. They just Googled it. So we're talking to that crowd, even though some of you may be seasoned individuals in this subject. So, Sally, all yours.
Okay, and I don't consider myself an expert. I learned all these within the last year and a half, and learning more from people that I talk to. But I'll start with, number one, idealize, right? Mm-hmm. I think back to when everything first started out, and I don't call it the cycle of narcissistic abuse. I call it the crazy cycle because that's really what it is. It's really a crazy cycle. Right. But I needed to get out, right? And if I look back, I see the red flags now, but I pictured that life of, I was young. I was 21 at the time.
Thank you.
And I wanted to get out. I wanted to be married, and he was in the, everything just aligned. It was just too perfect to be true, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a red flag now looking back. But I just idolized everything, everything, and I was idolized by him. So it was a fantasy, basically. So that's how I view the idolize step one, phase one of this crazy cycle.
Yeah, really.
Leon, would you like to take... Sorry, go ahead.
No, please. Please go ahead.
Leon, would you like to take the devalue?
Devalue?
Yeah.
Before we do that, I'm going to ask a favor. Let's go with Idealize.
For everyone.
Yeah, if we could do that, and maybe Amber could go next, and then we'll have Darcy, and then Leon, if that's okay with you, my friend.
Yep, definitely. Amber, Idealize, what was it like for you?
So I know that you're saying idolize, like IDOLIZ, but I'm reading idealize. And so idealize for me is more like what we ideally picture in our minds. Yeah. And this was a really big wake-up call for me when I left. Actually, not even when I left, but when the actual event happened. My mother called me delusional for thinking that my childhood was traumatic. Wow. And that broke everything inside of my mind, because my mother was my hero growing up. I idolized my mother, but I ideally had this picture in my mind that my mother supported me, that she had this unconditional love for me, for who I was, for who I chose to be. But when my mother called me delusional for thinking that my childhood was traumatic, Now, mind you, my dad was narcissistic. He was physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive. I could not believe that my own mother said that I was delusional. And I want to reiterate what Sally said. We are not all experts when we first recognize that we've been abused. None of us are experts. And when you wake up to the reality of what has happened, oh my gosh, it just brings everything down. You're shattered because you just don't even you just don't even know what happened to you. It is so traumatic witnessing everything. It's like a death. It's an ego death, right? So you all of a sudden are dying. Everything that you thought was your reality is no longer existent. The relationship I thought I had with my mother was no longer existent. I went to Colorado Springs for 2 months to grieve the relationship that I ideally thought that I had with my mother that was non-existent. It never existed. She was abused by a narcissist her entire relationship with him. They've been together since they were 17 and they're still married 30 something years later. I can't even understand it. But I was delusional in her mind for thinking that my childhood was traumatic. And I know that it's because she suffered what she suffered, that she felt that what I suffered was not as great as what she suffered, which that doesn't matter. Suffering is suffering and pain is pain. So you idealize a thought in your mind of what you think your relationship is, but who you're looking at is never the person looking back at you. You do not know what they think. You don't know how they feel. You don't know anything that has to do with them. All you know is how you feel and what your perception is. And ideally, what you think your relationship is probably not what it is. Yeah. And so you have to be real with yourself. You have to feel into your intuition. If you're constantly questioning whether or not you're in a right relationship or if they love you or how they feel about you, if you're questioning, you're probably in an idealizing relationship where you're idealizing what you think your relationship is. And that's a sure sign that you're probably not in a safe space, because if you were safe, you would know it without a shadow of doubt that you're safe. You wouldn't have any fear. You wouldn't have any stress of thinking that you were not in a safe space. That's what I take from that, from idealizing.
Excellent.
And that's
beautiful.
Just my share.
Excellent. Your share is heavy. That was weighty. That was pretty good. Darcy?
I so relate to a lot of what you're saying, Amber, the whole delusion about the negative childhood. I mean, once 5 different therapists have told you that you were abused as a child, you start to finally maybe believe it. But yeah, mom and dad might be like, well, that's not what I lived through. So that's unfortunate. And if you're steeped in that, and that's what you grew up with, and that's what you think is normal, it's not good, but that's what you think is normal, then you're going to get into a lot of trouble when you start dating someone. So for the idealized step of things, I went for someone who was, classically charming as a narcissist, someone I had known for a very, very long time. We'd been friends since 3rd grade. But he was narcissist number 3 that I had to go through in my relationships. And it was just coming off of a horrible marriage. And that's one of my narcissists. And then I started dating this guy that I thought we were just going to have a great time. We had all the same friends and yada, yada. He said that, we had dated in our 20s, and he said that he'd love me for 20 years and that, he still wanted to be with me. And I was just like, okay, sign me up. And he's telling all my closest girlfriends, the flying little monkeys, who had no idea they were flying monkeys. Well, she's going to fall for me, no problem, because I'm saying all the right things to all the right people, and they all vouched for him. Nobody knows better, and no one sees it, even though we knew he had horrible relationships with women, but he was honest about it, or he seemed to be honest about it. So it was like, okay, well, if he's working on this and he's made amends with them, I'm sure he'll be good to me. No, not the case. So it's easy to fall for the idealization part of things, because who doesn't want to be love bombed, especially, coming out of a divorce, coming off of mental illness bout, we all want that. Or we should, we shouldn't, and we should unfortunately have to recognize those red flags if people are super lovey-dovey with you right off the bat. And, it's, you can't always trust. Sometimes a good thing is not the true thing. Yeah. So,
Leon, do me a favor, round up this discussion on number 1 there, to idealize.
So I want to say one thing. I can't see the names. The lady was talking about your mom.
Amber.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. I think it's Amber. I can't see the name. But anyway, just to say something quick about that, your mother probably doted on maybe the men in your family, okay, and then the guy that she was ultimately with, who was her husband, I believe you said, for 20-something years. My mother doted on me, okay, and my mother doted on her brother, my uncle, who was the one that was touching me. My mother never did that to my sister, and my grandmother never did that to my mother. So it affected my sister moving forward in life. But the men in my family were always put on a pedestal. We were cherished, okay? All the men. Thinking about this now, I went through life like no big deal. So I never had a lot of or respect for women, especially when in relationship and marriage. And so my thing is, I had to be the ideal. I had to be the gift. I had to be the prize, and there was no debating that. And so, along with being molested at 5, and lose my virginity at 7, and being porn at 8, and being by my babysitter, and being touched by my uncle, by the time I was 11 years old, I wanted to commit suicide twice. I didn't do it, of course, because I'm here. But and I distinctly remember saying, you know what? I'm over this. I'm done. It's going to be all about me. I was 12 years old when I said that, because I come home from the 6th grade graduation, and my mother, my brother, my sister were moving out of our house. So my mind was made up at 12 that it's going to be all about me for the rest of my life. I was dealing with emotional dysregulation. I was dealing with being emotionally detached. I blame everything on my mother. And I didn't, so I saw my 3rd psychiatrist, but my social worker, a little white lady, 4 feet tall, 100 pounds, dug into my soul and made me sit through therapy for like 7 months. And I was like, burn me up. I hated it, but I went through it. And she's the one that really helped me. The other 2 psychiatrists helped me. The psychotherapist, I walked out of her office. But because I was still like, before I started therapy, I was still like, it's all about me. I'm a senior guy in the Navy. People love me. You know, I'm the man. I'm great. I'm all of this stuff. And so it all went back to my childhood when, you know, I thought my mother lost the house and I blamed her. I thought my mother caused the divorce and I blamed her. My father was an alcoholic back then. He was verbally abusive. He was mentally abusive. I just found my parents. This is my medical record. See how thick it is.
Wow.
So I just found my parents divorced recently, and it said in there, mental abuse from my father. This was in 1976.
Wow.
You had no clue. You didn't know that, did you?
No. Yeah. I love my father, but
you're taking it out on women. You were taking it out on the women, right?
Right. 30 years later, the same month, December, I was divorced too. But it was irreconcilable differences. But I was mentally abusive. It doesn't have to be verbal. Mentally abusive could be cheating on your wife, hiding, lying, being financially abusive. I was never spiritually abusive because I was in love with the devil. I didn't want to believe in God because God would have helped me. I don't want to be helped. Yeah. I don't have any problems. I'm the prize. I'm the ideal situation. It's all about me. So I'm the guy that destroyed all of my relationships, but I never got help. All I had to do was get therapy and be willing to sit through therapy, but first admit that I had issues. Now, I was never doing that. The military had a way of keeping me as a narcissist because I get promoted, I get rewarded, I get awarded, they put me in charge of people. It's all about me. It's stupid to say this, but I blame the military for creating this monster. That was my excuse. Yeah. And when I was a recruiter, I was the same way. I was recruited a year, recruited a quarter, put people in the Navy. They would give me weeks off. And I was like, recruiting made me a monster. Leon is not the monster. Recruiting made Leon the monster. So I blame the thing on everybody else just so I can continue doing what I was doing because it felt good to me. They were feeding my demons and feeding my soul. It was feeding my spirit, my demonic spirit. But it felt good to do wrong. It felt bad to do right. Okay.
You got a thought on the screen there, which many people, all of us here sitting here, and Leon yourself would agree with.
Yeah, it was a lot, you know, and
it says, oh my God, that's terrible. Why was it terrible to live the life that Leon's describing? What's the fallout from some of the things that an individual does when they live like that? What's the fallout from those things? Anybody?
I can say something. I'm so sorry to hear about all of your abuse as a kid. That's horrifying. And just, people, any one of us, anyone could have one tiny percentage of what you've gone through and be wrecked for life. I mean, it's just, no matter how much you address it, it never goes away. No matter how much you do the deep dive into how you really feel about it, what you'd like to do about it, it never stops haunting you. And there's so much shame that goes along with it, regardless of the fact that you're not to blame, obviously. And that's one of the harder things to ever get through, is if you've had that sort of trauma, it'll lead you to all kinds of things, narcissism, but like addiction. So many people wind up being addicted because they just want to numb that out. And it's the easiest way to do it. You don't have to go live through it again in therapy for years and years and years, because that's what it's going to take to get through it. So it's tough. And I'm so sorry. That one is just a recipe for disaster for anybody who goes through it.
And you're absolutely right about everything you said, especially the addiction part, because my mother became addicted to crack in '85. And so I lost her again. I lost her, lost the house. She floated around. She got us back. My dad got us. We went to court. My sister and I were headed to foster care. And my mother started smoking crack for 30 years. And so that was her vice. That was her addiction. My vice became porn. My vice became alcohol. I wasn't as bad off as my dad. I didn't think I was. But yeah, right. Those addictions are what mask the pain. My mother lost 6 people in 3 years. That's a person every 6 months due to death and divorce. And so I never understood why, Mom, why are you getting high? How come you don't cook for me? And it killed me, And so when I went through therapy, my little therapist told me it wasn't your mom, it was a drug. And that's when it all changed for me. I had a chance to tell my mother I loved her. A week later, she passed away because of her drug addiction. So thank God for therapy. I was able to talk to my mom and tell her that I loved her before she passed away. But you're right. That addiction is so strong. I was addicted to harming, not physically harming, but I was addicted to verbal abuse because it made me feel good. It made me feel superior. I was addicted to that. I had to be on top of everything. I had to win the arguments. I had to start the fights. I had to end the fights.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
So I'm very similar to you, Leon. I relate to a lot of what you're saying, coming from sexual abuse and feeling like, sweeping that under the rug and not being able to talk about it. And also, addiction is not just drugs and substance. Addiction is also fighting. Addiction is chaos. That's the family I come from, is the yelling and the screaming and the pointing and the doing all of those things that are, hey. All right. I'm sorry. Nope. Mommy's
we still got the point. No,
but,
go ahead.
But regardless, what I wanted to talk about is that the manipulation is also an addiction. Manipulation is a huge addiction. When people don't get what they want, they manipulate the pawns, the players. I have 2 younger sisters, and I think for me, this big spiritual awakening, going back to recognizing when addiction is around you and how it's affecting your life. I did not know how big of a manipulator my mother was until she was sitting with my child in her arms, pointing her fingers at me, telling me what was wrong with me. And I know we're going to go into this next step, and this is a big one, is devaluing who you are to the people around you. But manipulation is a huge addiction, and it made me open my eyes to every single fight that ever started. I was the one who was drama. I was the one who was constantly bringing up certain things that were said or certain things that I felt that were wrong. And so everybody pointed the finger at me because I was the oldest. I was the one that was supposed to be the most responsible. I was the one who was supposed to be leading by example. I was the one who was supposed to have all my stuff together. And yet I had this parental relationship who was broken. Mm-hmm. My mother constantly devalued my father, constantly talked about what a terrible person he was. He never helped in the home. He was always the hardworking man who would go to work and come back home. And my mother cooked, she cleaned, she did the laundry. She had a full-time job Monday through Friday. She worked her tail off to help provide for our family because my dad had spending problems. He had addictions for spending money and addictions to video games and addictions to a thrill and adrenaline rush because of the terrible home he came from. So when you're talking about, you were talking about your parental, how you blamed your mother, but actually it was your father. For me, I blamed my father for everything. He was the easy person to blame because my mother blamed him for everything. He had anger problems. He went to jail when I was in the third grade. I was 8 years old. He went to jail for anger and for throwing things around the house. And so he was the easy person to blame, but he also came from the hardest background. He came from the hardest reality of his life. He had 4 older brothers, 2 younger sisters. There was emotional and sexual abuse, physical abuse. He ran away from home when he was 13. So there was so much stuff that he was carrying with him into this family. But what I did not know was the level of manipulation my mother had from the time she was 17 all the way up until this last year. She was very manipulative because she wanted to have it her way. And my awakening in recognizing what I'm coming from is women who manipulate to get what they want. My grandmother was the original manipulator, but she was my best friend growing up. I was her star child, her star grandchild, and I was her favorite, but she was the ultimate manipulator. And I wish I had known that before she passed away, but I didn't know that until now. And it's wild when you start really awakening to all of the abuse and you start awakening to what is healthy and what's okay. And you start recognizing what healthy relationships are built out of. You're going to go backwards. You're going to look at your past and you're going to see what you ideally thought things were supposed to be like, but what they actually are now. And that is something that is just intense to go through. So I appreciate and value your past experience because it makes me feel like I'm not alone. And I want you to know that you're not alone either when it comes to the chaos, because chaos is addictive in our family past backgrounds. Like it's like that whole idea, if it's not this, it's something else, like I think I heard my mom say that all the time when I was younger. If it's not this, it's something. And it made me feel like we were okay if chaos wasn't happening. So we had fights every holiday. We had fights every birthday. We had breakups of relationships between me and my sisters, and then we come back. And it was like this, it was trauma bonds. We had constant trauma bonds in our relationships between us. Yes, it was the crazy cycle.
And I appreciate hearing all this too, because it gives me insight to what my ex-husband went through. That's what I take from all of that Leon shared in the family, because his mom, I see where it came from now. Still not my heaviness to take on. And for many years, I tried to help, him get help. So I appreciate that.
Above your pay grade to try to fix or repair.
My emotional pay grade. Oh,
yes, you're right. Your emotional pay grade is not to do that. It's one thing to stand next to someone who wants to get better and strip off the old personality and put on a new one. But if somebody doesn't want to, that's above your pay grade, above our pay grade. The second one is devalue. The third one is discard. The next one is Hoover. We have gone 37 minutes, and we are going to keep going until we cover some points here. But I want to talk about devalue. Ladies, in your own words, have you been on the receiving end of someone who devalues you? What was that like?
I'll go if that's okay. This just sprang to my mind. It's, the holidays and everyone's entertaining or whatever, having parties. You get your honeymoon phase with whoever you're in love with, the narcissist, and they do idealize you. But then you come to a point where they start nitpicking about little things or whatever. And when I got together with my ex-husband, I was 22. And so his entire family was like Betty Crocker. All the women had to be perfect entertainers and cook and blah, blah, blah. That's just not who I am. And I'm a feminist. And I resent the fact that they think that just because we are women, we need to be perfect little cooks and, sass around with our aprons on. It's never going to happen.
I know how much you love the color red. Did you still stick with your color red while you were being Betty Crocker?
Oh my God. The unfortunate thing was that whenever I did entertain, I kind of killed it. Like, God damn it, they knew I could do it, but I don't want to.
You didn't learn to mess it up so you can have to do it.
Okay. So anyway, like, you know, the whole reason I bring this up is because my ex-husband started to nitpick about my cooking. He'd come home from work. I've been working too. I mean, goddamn, listen. So we get home and I'm supposed to be cooking and cleaning while he relaxes in front of the TV. And I'm just like, yeah, really not going to happen. And so when I did make a nice meal, he would sit down and then be furious that there was no salad. Like this was some fancy 3-course restaurant that we were sitting in. So anyway, it really kind of to this day has ruined cooking for me, you know, and I might have been good at it. My mom's really good at it. My sister's good at it, but I refuse to do it. My poor daughter, you know, gets a lot of takeout because I'm still traumatized by it. But just little things like that. Let me
Are you having flashbacks every time you walk by a kitchen?
Every time I even think about cooking, I get furious. So anyway, it's stuff like that. They just come after you about stuff that seems so stupid and trivial. And it's like, really, what have you been doing? What have you been doing that makes you so special that you can, you know, criticize me?
Thank you for sharing that in regards to, obviously, the fast food industry is making a great deal of money off of you. Sally, your thoughts on Devalue, and then Amber's, and then we're going to get Leon's thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. And I agree, Darcy, definitely with the cooking thing. I'm in the same boat. And the things that it's weird because the things that they loved about you, right, that supposedly at the beginning when they were, you know, in love with you, they loved about you, right? They start not liking about you. That's what's so weird about it. What attracted them to you, they hate at the end because they don't have it, right? Mm-hmm. They obviously were attracted to you because they didn't have those characteristics. But then, you know, they really don't like them. So the best things in me was I love my sense of humor. I think I'm funny as hell still, but I lost that with him. And I feel like that's what attracted him to me, right? But then I wasn't funny, you know? Any of the things that he was attracted to when we first got together went out the window and became like, you know, bad. So that's what my experience was.
Amber, yourself, the word was devalue. Have you experienced that? What was that like before Leon tells us his thoughts on devaluing?
So I'm going to drop a book for anyone that's watching that has completely changed my life. It's called How to Do the Work. It's by Dr. Nicole LaPera. She's the holistic psychologist. She has absolutely changed my life. She's on TikTok. She's on Instagram as the holistic psychologist. And that book taught me about enmeshment and how that is a type of family. And I come from an enmeshed family with no boundaries. And so what that means is that when you're a part of an enmeshed family, you are a part of a family unit. You are expected to be a part of your family unit, to think like your family, to operate like your family, and to do things together like your family. And if your opinion or thoughts are different from that of your enmeshed family unit, they ostracize you. So yes, I absolutely come from an enmeshed family who has ostracized me for being different, for not thinking the same as them. And honestly, like, also that book has taught me that because we are adult children who have been passed down trauma from our parents, we act and think a lot like them when we are in a fight or flight mode. So I am divorced. My ex-husband and I got married in 2011, got divorced in 2015. This was long before I ever had my daughter. And we absolutely devalued each other nonstop. And it started with me because I felt insecure and unsafe because he was not giving me the enmeshment that I was used to. And he was not a part of the family unit that I wanted to recreate out of what I was taught. And therefore I would point fingers at him the way that my dad pointed fingers at me. From the time I got into 4th grade on, that was when the big fights started with my parents about me. Yeah. The fights were always about me. I was always the problem. Wow. One thing that will forever ring in my ears, and this is painful for any of you girls out there that have heard nasty things from your parents. The one nasty thing that I will never forget that my father told me was that if I didn't learn how to be responsible, now responsible meaning in his definition was doing my chores, cleaning my room, and getting good grades in school. Those 3 things were his main number 3 for what responsibility considered as. If I did not learn to be responsible, I would end up on my back or working in a McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's 2 separate times And honestly, I'll tell you, it wasn't as bad as being in that relationship with my father.
Oh man, you have just made McDonald's some money. It is now the emotional,
bad, right?
it is now the emotional maturity center of growth on the planet.
Honestly, devaluation.
I get you, Amber.
I want to be honest
too,
with
you.
like parental relationships. When they devalue you,
Yeah.
your core beliefs become that. So you believe corely that you are not of value. So that's something I've been working on as well. But yes, I have been a victim of devaluation, but I have also been the perpetrator of devaluation and treated others the same way that I watched my parents treat themselves. So it is an addiction. It feels good to let off that steam. It feels good to be mean and to be angry.
Wow.
And now I'm learning that it's better to be aware, consciously aware of when we feel that way.
You are such a beautiful woman. I can't believe you're saying this right now. We've talked so many times. Listen, you know what I think about you? I love all of you people here in front of me, this panel of people, but I'm telling you, you just continue to blow my mind, Amber, because your reading and your growth has just been unbelievable. You have been skyrocketing with growth. It's unbelievable. And
I'll tell you,
you're going to make me cry.
You
know you're going to make me cry. Why don't you?
But I want other people to know that are listening. It's okay if you feel uncomfortable when people compliment you. It's okay when you feel, because even right now, like I'm living in some random guy's basement and, like, it's in this place where I don't feel like I want my life to be right here where I am, but I'm also learning to appreciate that I am growing, and growing hurts. I want anyone who's listening to this to know that growing is painful. I have this best friend Zoe, and Zoe is going through so much emotional pain with me. We're going through this together, and we always message each other whenever we're feeling low or feeling down. And one thing I appreciate about her is that we're so real and so raw with each other. We allow each other to feel those negative emotions, because it is such a process to overcome what you've been through and to overcome the constant core beliefs that you're fighting with on the inside, because a lot of them are not true.
We better get.
Sorry.
Hey, you can say sorry on somebody else's show, but not on Narc Abuse TV Network. Okay, so we better get Leon in here. Leon, give us some. Show us different angles of what Devalue is all about on the receiving end and the one who likes to instigate it.
Speaking from an instigator perspective, devaluing has many levels. Women like to talk. Women like to know what's going on in a relationship. They want to be aware. They want to be involved. The devaluation of a woman so much will make her start to devaluate herself, because she loves her man. So she'll believe what he says. She'll latch on his every word. So she'll go, oh, well, maybe I'm not that pretty, or I'm not that cute, or he said I need 5 pounds. Now you start, your shoulders sink. You just go down, 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 because you have this belief system in your man, rather it come from your mother and father being married for 35 years, or your mother doting on her husband, or your brothers. You saw that in your mother, okay? But you want to be in a relationship. You want to be married. You have staying power. You have longevity. I didn't have staying power or longevity, but I knew that she did. So I can do anything. I can say anything. All she's going to do is try to improve herself for me. Not going to run away, because she's time invested. Women believe in investing time in relationships and marriages. I didn't. Time didn't mean anything, because I'm setting myself up for the next woman. I was always halfway out in my relationship. Valuing a woman that loves you, that cares about you, especially a woman that wants to nurture you, she's going to take that devaluation onto herself and start devaluing more and more. And then what happens is you lose confidence, you lose self-esteem. And then what happens? He becomes your world. Nobody can, your mother can't tell you, your father, your uncle, your brothers can tell you anything about Jim, Larry, Mike, or Leon, because he is your world. He means everything to you. And what he says is true. What he says is what goes. So you start to evaluate yourself based on his evaluating of you, based on what he knows about you, because what you told him.
Yeah.
So I tell women to be very careful about opening up in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Don't tell me everything. So here's another thing. Narcs do not like to lose arguments. I would go at any length to win an argument. I would lie the fuck just to win an argument. Okay.
My husband would follow me to rooms, and I'd be done with the conversation.
Yeah, I've
and
heard
I'd be
that.
like, I'm done.
My dad
I've
tried to
heard
go
that.
bodies with me the last time that we had a
Wow.
fight. He put his hands on my wrist. That was the first time in years that he ever got physical with me. They want to win.
And so the men in my family were physically abusive. Okay. My mother had her teeth knocked out by my uncle. So the only thing that stopped me, and I picked her teeth up, by the way, the only thing that stopped me from being physically abusive was the fact that I was in the Navy and I didn't want to get kicked out. They don't kick you out for being verbally abusive. What they do, they write you a letter. I got 2 of those for being verbally abusive to two young black women in 2004. But I was still promoted a year later. It didn't do me any good. It didn't hurt me. It made me like, yeah, I can say what the hell I want to say. I get in trouble, I'm still gonna get promoted. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Okay, so narcs do not like to lose relationships. We know, arguments. So what they'll do, if they know that they lost the argument, like he said, he'll follow you. I follow her, put my hands up. No, if they know that they lost the argument, I'm not gonna say anything. What I'm going to do is devaluate you even more. Is that the word, devaluate?
Yeah. Devalue.
Devalue you even more. How so? By you may go to the hairdresser and your hair could be beautiful. You can get some new streaks in there.
Hit us where it hurts.
As soon as you walk in the house, I will not say anything about your hair. I will not say about your weight loss. I will not say anything about how the dress looks on you because I lost that argument a month ago. We don't like to lose. And so it goes from devaluing to if I know your love language is words of affirmation, I'm not going to say anything nice to you. Zippo. And I do it on purpose. I did it on purpose. But it goes from devaluing, knowing that your love language is words of affirmation, which a lot of people like words. Words are very powerful. To the next thing is called shunning. I'm going to shun the hell out of you. I watched this show the other day about Amish country. Check it out if you can. I forgot the name of it. But shunning. We talk about love bombing. We talk about great rocking. We talk about breadcrumbing. We talk about gaslighting. But one of the things that narcissists are really good at is shunning. Especially if I love me, if I know you care about me, if I know you want me in your life, if I'm your world, for me to get you, and that leads to the silent treatment.
Yes.
My mom went and got glamour shots and got her hair cut short, and my dad didn't talk to her for 2 weeks.
Oh, you guys, man.
That's right. And what's really
crazy.
What's sick about that? It feels good to do that to a woman.
Yeah.
You're talking about from the instigator,
Power.
the person who's devaluing, they get, well, would you do, Sally, you just said power, right?
Power, yeah. They have control.
Yep. Make you feel
because
bad.
he was the man of the house.
Yep.
Whatever.
The man of their world. The man of their
there
story.
you go. There you go. Of their story. Oh, that's a good one.
So bad that you miss out on the men that compliment you. You miss out on the men that really want you. You miss out on the men that are really interested in you.
Yeah.
You knock those men out because this guy controls your emotions, your feelings. He knows your love language. And you're so in love with him, you give him your world. You don't see these other people. Eyes are wide shut.
Yeah. How do I fix myself, right? It's like we look at ourselves, the women. How do I fix this? How do I fix myself to make this
do
work?
it all the time.
Yeah. Everybody, let's take a look at the screen. We've got Miss Angel with a thought here. How about when the narcissist, go ahead. Somebody was going to say, go ahead.
I wanted to add to it, if that's okay. I really appreciate this text because this is my life. This is my reality.
Let me read it. Let me read it to everybody real quick here. How about when the narcissist is the father, but the mother tried while the kids can see the toxic cycle. They walked away before the matter did. Excuse me, I said that wrong. They walked away before the mother did. How they don't blame mom. How is it that they don't blame mom?
Hope they don't blame mom.
Oh, excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you for catching that.
It's not about the blame. I want to put that there first because what that means is that mother has some kind of healing trauma, inner childhood trauma. My mother stayed with my father. I believe now because I found that my mother's...
I hate to do this to you, but I got to. You got to repeat that one more time. You just dropped that in. You can't just do that. That was really good. Say that one more time.
Which
the
part?
whole doggone thing. About the blame. Say it again about the blame.
blaming is it's a game that we all play. We try to blame other people for our trauma. We try to blame people for what's happening. But my mother had an addiction to manipulation and an addiction to codependency. So when somebody is addicted to something, they cannot see the problem. I don't blame my mother for not being able to see the problem. I'm grateful that I have conscious awareness that I don't ever have to talk to my father again. And I remember my sisters and I are each 2.5 years apart. We have asked my mom several times to get a divorce from my father. We were well aware of my dad's narcissistic abuse and well aware that he was doing something that was wrong. I can't tell you how many times we would watch Dr. Phil and couldn't wait for my dad to pay attention. But my dad called Dr. Phil Dr. Quack every single day because he did not agree with his theories. He didn't agree with the way he was breaking up families or causing issues within enmeshed families with no boundaries. So for me, I don't blame my mother, but other people will, because that's what we do. We're taught to blame other people for what we've experienced. I also recognize that my mother wanted to be a superhero, and that is exactly what she trained us to believe, was that she was our superhero. One thing that's full cycle for me, when my dad went to jail for domestic violence, he tore apart the entire house. It was a period of, I think, a week of just constant fighting between the two of them until the final day. What I remember the most was him throwing things down the stairs, going into their bedroom. My mom grabbed the wireless old school phone, called the police, and had my baby sister was about 1.5 on her hip. And my other sister and I were glued to my mom's legs. This is a very traumatic movie scene in my mind, okay? Wow. And when she held all of us and she was crying, this was her safeguard. In a constant state of trauma, she held her children as her safe place. And she made her children feel that she was their safe place. Now, fast forward to 6 months ago, my mom picked a fight with me because I was complaining about how our society and our culture is so based around medication like antibiotics. My daughter got strep throat, and I found out that oil of oregano will help if you mix it with coconut oil and put it on your toes. That actually helps you fight the infection in the body without having to take medications. I was terrified to take my daughter to the doctor because I had gone to the doctor a lot for strep throat as a kid. That is when my mom called me delusional for thinking my childhood was what it was. And she grabbed my daughter and sat on the couch and pulled her into her. So this is a full circle for me of recognizing that my mom was creating a safe space for my daughter while she was instigating a chaotic argument with me over something that I was venting about that had nothing to do with my mother, had everything to do with societal and cultural issues, but she took it personal as I was attacking her for the childhood I had, because that was her own insecurities for the trauma she knew we all experienced together. So for me, that was a full cycle and an immediate red flag of I need to get my child out of this. But
before you go any further, Amber, I've got to do this. Darcy, I need you to do me a huge favor and comment on what Amber just said and what Miss Angel has on the screen.
Well, okay, absolutely. I can relate to having the narcissistic father, but unfortunately, my mother was also narcissistic, and my sister. So that's my entire nuclear family.
You guys just keep surprising me here. Everybody just keeps surprising me. I'm going to have a 3-hour show, but go ahead.
So, I mean, there is no safe spot there. And my mom enabled my father, the narcissist, even though they were divorced. And we were taught to just, appease the biggest jerk in the room, basically, which led into the people that I dealt with romantically for life. So I do blame my mom. Hope they don't blame mom. I do blame my mom. She knows it. She'll never take accountability for it. And in my family, much like yours, Amber, if you come out of that enmeshment in any way and speak your truth and recognize the truth, you're the black sheep. But you know what? Black sheep are some of my most favorite people in the entire world. Like, that is just exactly who I want to see. And I'm lucky enough to have a nephew who is now the black sheep of his immediate family. And we just sit at the reunion and chat about what's really going on. So anyway, I think that once you recognize that they're narcissist after all of the therapy you've had to have because of it, then you, of course, question yourself. Am I a narcissist too? No, I wouldn't have asked that question if I was. But So moving forward, I think that the best thing you can do, what I do, I have a daughter too, she's 16. And she knows what I do for a living, that I help people who've been through narcissistic abuse. And she knows all of the jargon. She knows all of the, hashtags. And she and her friends talk about it. Well, I think he's a narcissist because he did this and that. And he's got, all these red flags. So thank God for that. At least we can talk about it. And when her narcissist father has a tantrum, which he does from time to time, and blames her for things, we can sit and sort of deconstruct it. Like, okay, well, yeah, that's classic narcissism right there. So, don't you dare ever date.
Angel should be, journaling about her past, journaling what in that terminology for her does that mean that her mother tried? What is trying to you? Is it trying to fix the narcissist? Because there's no such thing as fixing the narcissist. You cannot fix the narcissist. You can never repair the damage that's been done, and you can never repair the relationship that they've built with you. Is she trying to better herself? If she's trying to better herself, that might mean getting away from the narcissist. Also patterns, what patterns did your mother take from her parents? What relationship did her parents have? Going backwards and figuring out those past cycles is super important to recognizing what your mother actually did for you. If your mother loved you unconditionally and allowed you the freedom to become the person that you are consciously aware that your father is narcissist. That's good. That's awesome that she gave you that freedom. And so it's not a blame game. You can't blame a mother for staying somewhere where she's addicted to being there. You can't blame a mother for the past trauma that she's experienced. So in any case, everyone there needs either therapy, recovery groups. I've recently joined a recovery group for adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. There are no alcoholics in my family, but I absolutely come from a dysfunctional family. Wow. I'm learning that the only way that you heal is by doing what we are doing now. And that's sharing your story and sharing your experience and talking about it until you heal.
Go ahead, Leon. You were going to say something. Sally and Leon, feel free to jump in here and talk about what Darcy and Amber and Miss Angel was talking about there. Go right ahead, Leon. You had your hand up there.
Amber, I didn't see the names. That's Amber with the gray shirt on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
She is spot.
Let me say this, everybody. If you're confused who Amber is, just look for the thug in the room. Because I was gonna wear my hat today, and I saw yours on. And I went like, dude, I should have did it. We would have had this rolling.
Next time.
Quick background about the hat. I have a mullet from shaving my head. I used to be as bald as these two gentlemen in the room, but now I got a mullet, and it does weird things, so I have to wear the hat when it does weird things.
Go ahead, Leon. You were gonna say.
Yeah, Amber's spot on. She covered everything. This is for Miss Angel. You have to understand that something happened to your mother in her childhood, in her adulthood, and her adulthood. Whatever happened. This year, did she not get therapy to process to move forward?
Yes.
It may be dealing with fear of abandonment because somebody may have left her. So she latched on. You all watched it. The children watched the cycle of abuse, and then they walked away. But mom stayed after she tried. So she may not want to let go. Why? She needs to find it out. But there needs to be some intervention with that family. Like I mentioned earlier, my mother lost 6 people in 3 years. That's an average of 1 person every 6 months. So what she latched onto, instead of latching onto a man, like Miss Angel said, her mom latched onto dad. My mother latched onto drugs. And somebody mentioned earlier, we have those vices, those addictions that make us feel good. It fills our void. So your mother has a void. And was at the expense of losing your relationship possibly with her children that walked away. So you have to go back to her childhood and find out what happened. Why did she get therapy? Did she get therapy? If she did she implement it? So it's very important that you realize I learned in therapy that I had to go back to what happened to my mother. What's going on? Why does she act like this? Why did she react? Why did she turn out this way? It was all about what happened, what she wasn't getting from her mother or her father, and her family was separated. So she didn't get that love and care from her children, me and my sister and I, or her husband, my dad, when they got divorced. She lost us 3 too. So for Miss, what was her name? Miss King. What was the lady's name?
Miss Angel.
Miss Angel. Don't just solely blame your mother. First, find out why your mother's the way that she is, because she's probably lost before in her life and can't deal with losing your dad or her husband.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say to that too. That's the reason I got out. That was the main reason I got out. I was not modeling what love was. This was not a romantic love that my kids, will grow up seeing. So that was my main push. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. That was a couple years ago, you know, when we filed for divorce, but they've seen it their whole lives, you know. And so that was my final push, so that I, you know, basically didn't get blamed.
Thank you for doing that for your kids, Sally.
Yep.
You're a super mom.
Thank you.
You have, go ahead, Leon, you were going to say something. We're going to talk about being discarded next. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying, tell her thank you.
When it comes to being discarded, that was a tactic that was used by you, Leon, no doubt. But ladies, feel free to go first, and then Leon, you go last, talking about the discard.
I'll start just because it's fresh in my memory this time of year. But when I started dating my last narcissist, he, like, the second we started dating, he basically fell into a deep depression. And me being me, of course, I wasn't going to kick him out, especially with my background in depression myself. So anyway, you know, he was on my couch for like a year and a half before I finally said, you have to go get help, like go get meds, right? And when he did, the meds helped right away. And so literally the second that happened, he moved into this little guest quarter part of my house that, you know, was sort of separate. It was still under the same roof, but it was a separate living situation. And he literally went in there and never came back out. So it was just like, thank you so very much for helping me through that. And let me just go ahead and take a powder now. So, you know, he claimed to be working out there, but God only knows what he was up to. And yeah, had like 4 girlfriends on the side via text. So anyway,
he's not still there, is he?
Oh no.
I'm just asking. Hey, I love you, Darcy, but I'm just asking. I'm just checking.
No, thank
no
God.
offense.
Thank God. But anyway, so yeah, the discard.
Intervention needed if he is.
No, yeah.
Okay.
But he, you know, he just totally disconnected the second he didn't need me to help him anymore, and that was it. And I kind of suspected that might happen, but it sure did. And it wasn't a surprise though, somehow. So yeah, like there's no lovely parting. It's just, let's kick you out the door. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but thank God we're not together anymore.
I just want to say we've gone 1 hour and 6 minutes, and it has been action-packed exactly the way I wanted it, because we do have viewers that want to see this. This is not for those who are squeamish or who are overly critical and opinionated. Yeah. This is for those who want to have this discussion, and they're going to love it. I guarantee you, for that hour, I'm emotionally excited, and just from listening to all of you. Amber, want to go next on discard, and then Sally, if you don't mind. Leon can go after that. Okay,
so discarding, I like that word disconnection from Darcy. Is super important that you guys understand that discarding is disconnection. I am friends with somebody on Instagram who posts often what narcissists do. And one of my favorite things that he has posted is that narcissists treat you like a new toy. And they love playing with you as long as you do what they want you to do. And then when you are broken because they broke you, they discard you. Wow. So that's a huge thing for me. But mine is a long-term narcissist. I'm 32 years old. I'll be 33 this next August.
Why are you lying to people, 18-year-old? Why are you lying?
Yeah, right? You do. You look very, very young.
Does she? You look like she's 17, man.
Yeah. Nope. I'm 32. And I have gone back to my narcissists, my parents, 5 times. And watching the Maid series on Netflix taught me that that's what I did, was go back to my narcissist, because I felt like I had nowhere safe to go. And every time I returned, I was brand new. And every time I returned, I was brand new because I made myself brand new, but I also broke myself, and I came to get repaired, and they couldn't repair me because I was broken. So discarding. I think I have 2 memories in my mind that kind of stick out to me for this, but I had a best friend in high school. I won't name her, because if she ever sees this, like, I don't know what she would feel about it.
And I don't want to get sued, but go ahead.
I had a best friend in high school, though, and she came from similar kinds of backgrounds, except her parents were divorced. And so she understood abuse more than I did. So anytime I talked about it, she would have this ultimate disgust with my father as much as I did. We shared that, you know, we shared that vent session together all the time. But whenever she would come over, my dad would just praise her. She was a little red when she came in because she had strawberry blonde hair, and he absolutely praised the ground she walked on. And me, I can't tell you, and I know that relates very much to devaluing, but it also felt like discarding. I've watched Toy Story a million times, and I can't tell you how much it related with Woody sitting up on top of the shelf and having the dream of being thrown away in the garbage can. That is what it felt like when they praise other people right in front of you, you feel discarded. Another thing, I was an artist in high school. I loved to paint, I loved to draw, and I made this really cool color wheel project for an art class, and I couldn't wait to show my dad because he always said, you know, I could be an artist. He always told me what I could be, and then when I brought it home, he looked at it and he looked back at the TV and did nothing. There was nothing, no reaction. Like, it was like oh, cool. And then went straight back to what he was doing. And I felt discarded. I felt like I didn't matter. I felt like I had no value at all anymore. And he just kind of tossed me over to the side. And that happened in arguments. That happened in conversations. It happened my whole life of trying to discuss. And I'm learning that this is something we do. We share and we check and we share, right? So that's like a way to see whether or not you're in a safe space. When you're telling your story, when you're sharing your ideas, when you're talking about whatever you're talking about, you can share a little and check. And if they don't respond, if they're not passionate about it, if they're not like they're not involved with you, then there's no point in moving forward in that conversation because you're not going to get what you're seeking out of it. So that's where I ultimately felt discarded, was in my relationship with my dad. And then again with my mother, constantly complaining and feeling hard and trying to vent about it, and her telling me,
I want to ask you a
get
question.
over it.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you had to say whether you, at this moment in time where you are right now, not just physically where you are, but emotionally where you are you just now starting to get the full weight of understanding everything? Or are you, what? You gotta let me,
I'm listening.
Are you at the beginning of that, understanding the weight of everything that you've been experiencing? Are you in the middle of that? Or are you right near the end and just around the corner, there's a huge breakthrough?
I feel like I'm going through the breakthrough now. I know that I get really antsy. I have ADHD, so I'm trying to like figure out how to deal with my bodily emotions. But I've also been addicted to marijuana for the last, 6-7 years. And for the last 2 weeks, I've recognized that addiction and have been, I wouldn't say that I cut cold turkey, but I've been far away from it now, recognizing that I don't need it, which is really awesome.
You see what's happening on the screen, right? Did you see Sally? Did you see Sally?
I support you, and you know
Thank
what?
you.
You're doing wonderful. You're doing so wonderful.
It's great. I'm a big supporter of marijuana, to be honest with you. And my daughter's birthday is 4/20 as well. But honestly, like, I'm just recognizing my own codependency on it and my addiction to codependency. But you did a live with, I can't remember her name. It was with Thriving with Raven too, but I can't. She had dark hair. And on that live, she said, you can show up broken. And that like changed my entire reality because I was so broken at the time of seeing that live. And that was when I kind of came full circle back into this work with trauma healing and narcissistic abuse.
That was Anastasia.
Thank you.
Actually, she will be on Saturday, my last show before we.
She said you could show up broken.
Said, yeah, she does say that. Yeah.
That time of my life right then was, I think that was about 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I was just realizing the heaviness of what I had gone through. But now I feel like I'm getting through the breakthrough. I've read 3 books in the last month. I'm almost finished listening to the audiobook of The Power of Now. And it's been really empowering. It's been really cool to get through all of it. So
your journey has proved to be, you are the petri dish for us, the rest of us today. We have all put you under the microscope and are examining and taking from what you said and building on it. Sally, your turn, and then Leon,
inspiring.
Jump in there about discard, because Amber is laying it all out there for the entire world to see, because YouTube is global. Hey, forget raw.
Let's do it.
You know what? You're raw backwards, which is war. You're starting an emotional war.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what you are. Go ahead, Sally, and then Leon, our special guest, will go after that.
Sure. Yeah. So discard, I feel like I look at these steps, these phases, and it's like continual. It's a continual crazy cycle. You go through it, I was with the man for 20 some years. So you go through this over and over again. But the final discard, I would say, was him cheating on me with not a friend of mine, but an acquaintance. So I think that stuff like that probably happened in the background that I didn't know about, but everything gets a little harder, right? He's giving you a harder dose of this discard, and that was the final straw. That's when I found out he actually cheated on me. That was the final discard too. So that was my story.
That's you, Leon.
Okay, something real quick for Amber. I don't know if you were addicted to marijuana. I think you may have been addicted to the feeling. But I have a very addictive personality. So I realized that some of the things I wasn't addicted to, I was addicted to feeling, okay? When I was addicted to porn, it wasn't that porn, it was feeling I was addicted to. Keep that in mind. Also, with Amber, I found out through therapy that I had oral fixation. So the marijuana, whether it's a weed or a blunt or pipe, it's that hand-mouth motion. You could be addicted to the hand-mouth motion. I had oral fixation. So I always on Starbucks straws or stoppers or toothpicks because when I was molested, my cousins sucked on my mouth. And it was a sucking motion that they did. And I didn't realize this until therapy. I had to explain what happened. And she said, you suffer from oral fixation because of that. So that's probably one of the other things I still hadn't broken, like I chew on straws. But the hand-mouth thing with the pipe, smoking marijuana, the feeling that Amber had, you're addicted to that's a good feeling. So don't tell yourself you're addicted to the marijuana. I understand your therapy tells you that, but it's a feeling. Now, discarding, there are a few things that go along with discarding. We talked about shunning, which is like the ultimate. Silent treatment. If you're dealing with a strong man or woman, a good-natured man or woman, one that's healthy, that has character, integrity, and morals, what happens is discarding starts when you know you don't have those things, but you may want that person, but you don't have the character and the morals. And you know what that leads to? Narcissists are very, very, very jealous people. And so when they're very jealous, you'll never hear that from one. I would never have never said this before.
Wouldn't admit it. Won't admit it. Would have never admit it.
No, but now, yeah, I had a lot of jealousy. And so instead of me admitting that I was jealous, I would shun, give them the silent treatment, and discard them as if they devaluing them, as if they didn't matter. Nothing meant anything to me about them. So the discarding is push you to the side. Because you know why? You are too much for me. You are too good for me. And a lot of things the narcissists realize when they discard people is that, oh, they're on to me. They got me figured out. Boop, I got to get the hell out of here. So they start ghosting, right? They start separating themselves. They start moving along. And you don't have no idea what they're doing. But the silent treatment, all that stuff, you feel it. And so you're going back to the love languages. Your love language may be acts of service because it's like, hey, honey, let's do this. Hey, I got this for you. I did this. I did that. But their love language is actually a love-less language, which is acts of disservice. So that's connected to the discarding to make you feel invaluable, unimportant, make you feel not wanted, but it makes them feel good because, again, I think Sally said this earlier, it goes back to having that power.
And when it comes from the narcissistic trait, behavior, NPD angle, and they're coming with the discard. Sally, I love you, but here we go. I've been waiting to do this. It's going to sound like I'm picking on Sally. I'm not, because I love her to death. But she just highlighted what she experienced from her narcissistic ex, the cheating, the adultery. When it's coming from a narcissistic person, let's just get this realistic. A self-absorbed person does this, selfish person. We're talking someone who deliberately lives the pattern of life as being narcissistic. That's what I'm talking about right now. When that person wants to discard, that's some of the things that they do. They want to make sure to cut that person off. Well, then I'm going to get rid of them by cheating and having all these women on the side or all these men giving me attention. I'm just asking you, Leon, discard comes not just with silent treatment and other things. It may be an actual act of betrayal.
It is an act of betrayal, but it's also, and this is really sick, but I have to tell you, in my mind, when I was discarding the women, it was like, in my mind, oh, it's over with, right? So if I'm cheating, I'm not cheating. I'm with somebody that I want to be with. Yeah. It's over with her. She just don't know it. And so if you catch me, you didn't catch me. We weren't together. You didn't catch me. I decided to ignore you. And you were okay with that. You weren't okay with that, but we're not even talking. So I thought the relationship was over. It could be a week. It could be a month. And so I'm not cheating.
Leon, would you also agree that in some aspects for narcissists, it would be a form of punishment?
It is 100% a form of punishment.
Punishment is such a big word for the discard as well, I think, because punishment is what narcissists believe that they have the right to give. And this is something that I'm a big conspiracy theorist on with punishment, is that it comes from our culture and our society, that we get punished for not being a part of the unit or a part of the enmeshment of society. And I am learning that punishment does not belong in a relationship with love, because love is unconditional.
It is 100% punishment, because you shouldn't, you don't know this, but you shouldn't have won the argument. You should not have hurt my feelings. Now I'm gonna go cheat, but you don't know that I cheated. You have an idea. You can't believe it. I mean, you can't prove it. But there's many forms of punishment that narcissists do that you don't
make you feel like it's your fault that they did what they did.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it gets worse over time. Like, it starts off small, right? We talk about that cycle. So I told you over my relationship, there's been many cycles of those steps, right? Yeah. And then each time it gets a little more. And like I said, the final discard was him feeling, pushing my boundaries, basically. What will I put up with?
Do we also go down the path of financial abuse too? If it's not that physical betrayal, then it becomes a betrayal about money?
Absolutely. My mother had such a hard time with finances because my dad would spend the money all the time. He bought a boat. He bought a $10,000 boat that they could not afford, that had $300 monthly payments. And every month that boat payment would come up, he would buy a TV. He bought a PS4. He bought a truck. He bought so many things that they didn't have the money for. I remember my mom talking about the house going to foreclosure. She had to borrow money from my great grandpa. I remember we went to Arizona one month for a family reunion, but my mom actually went with the hopes that her dad would help them out, and they did every single time. So I'm actually a living example now of that trauma being recreated. I have had to lean on other people for support, while my parents have created an unsafe place for me where I don't have the means or the stability to raise my own child. So I'm here stuck figuring it out and having to lean on other people for support. And it absolutely disgusts me, but it is a form of punishment to be financially unstable on purpose. I see that in my dad doing it on purpose to piss my mom off because they couldn't make certain bills as they were trying to be financially stable with 3 children.
Anybody thoughts on that?
Kudos to you, Amber, for reaching out when you do need help, because so many don't.
And it's so hard too, because like for me, I'm recognizing that some of those people that I do ask for help are people pleasers. And so I feel guilty for asking people pleasers when they may not have the means, and they may not tell me that they have the means. So I have to trust my intuition when it's okay and when it's not okay. Yeah. I've also learned that ADHD is a form that is very similar to narcissistic abuse. Yeah. And so in the form of ADHD, I have to be careful with when I insert myself in certain people's lives. I cannot expect them to come through with me. And I have to remember that, everything happens for a reason. So even if I do ask the wrong person, I'm going to learn from that lesson, and hopefully they do as well. But it's just a process of coming through, the trauma and fixing yourself and becoming a better person. I want to be independent. I want to be somebody who provides for myself, and I want to teach my daughter to do the same. That is my end goal. So it's all about what you're doing in those steps, for sure.
I'm going to do something here. I'm going to do one thing here, round robin. of different things that I'm going to put up on the screen here, and everybody can go at it. I'll tell you that in just a moment. Before I do that, I'm going to say a word, and everybody, please, as succinct and as simple as you can get to an answer from your heart. I'm going to say the word self-sabotage. Now, I just want you to say from your perspective what you think about that word, self-sabotage. The realities of narcissism is what we've been talking about. We're going to really get into something as soon as we get done with this word, and we're going to go a little bit deeper before we end the show. But self-sabotage, what does that word bring to your mind and heart when you hear the word self-sabotage coupled with our subject and theme today, which is the realities of narcissism? And Sally, please, my gorgeous co-host, go ahead and go first.
Yeah, so I feel that is, self-sabotage is what you have when you don't have self-love. Self-love and self-care have been huge in this healing journey. So I think it's basically the opposite. You're tearing yourself down. You're having these negative thoughts that you're letting yourself think these things about yourself. So I feel that's basically what self-sabotage is listening to those negative lies in your head.
Oh, beautiful.
For me.
Darcy?
I would agree with what Sally says. I think that if you've grown up and you are not given a lot of worth in terms of, well, we're going to expose you to abuse and whatever else. So that means that you're not worthy of love. And so you might choose situations where people are emotionally unavailable to you, and you know that, but you also feel like, well, I don't deserve any better. So let's just be with what's comfortable, even though with what's familiar, even if it's not comfortable. So that's what I've experienced.
Amber?
Self-sabotage to me is a reflection of the perfectionism and the need to have control over things that are out of our control, and the lack of self-discipline for the things that are healthy in our life. Self-sabotage will always be the result of that.
You are you going to write a book or what?
Yes, I am going to write
what is
5
up
books.
With
They're
you?
coming.
She is on fire, dude. You're just like, what's that? Darcy, I love the way you just explained that, and Amber, the way you just explained that. You guys know I'm setting you up for something I'm going to put on the screen in a second. Just know that. So get ready now. All three of you beautiful, gorgeous women here with us. We're going to listen to this old man who's 900 years old. I waited till this show to say that to you. Leon almost said it when we did a show on Instagram, and I said, no, I'm going to save that. I got to get him on YouTube Live so I can say it globally so people across the world can hear me say that. This old man of 900 years old, he is actually younger than I am, like way younger than I am. So, but he looks so good. He's so handsome. So yeah, handsome. Okay, so I'm with 3 gorgeous women here and this handsome man who talked to me about self-sabotage before I put up something on the screen here.
Self-sabotage is trying to live a life of someone else that's not even your life. You try to appease them. Mm-hmm. And I see men do it too, but a lot of women lose themselves in trying to help somebody else revive, rehabilitate. It's called reassuring confidence for your man or woman. They try to rebuild it, but they don't want it. You try to make them want a life they should have, that they may have, that you have, so that your life course can be in sync with one another, but they don't want it. And women, I get a lot of DMs. Women have been in relationships for 10, 15, 20 years and have lost themselves. They have lost jobs. They've lost friends. They've lost family members, trying to live a life that somebody else wants them to live based on their childhood need or greed or lust. Change your hair, lose 10 pounds, wear red lipstick, wear a certain dress. You need to be a certain dress size. And so it's self-sabotage because you give up yourself. Now, I had a student that was a cutter. I was a teacher for 2 years. I had a few students that were cutters. Cutters, you can see them, either shoulders, their arms, their thighs. Sometimes you can see it's visible. But self-sabotaging type of people, they become mental cutters, and you can't see the cuts on their brain. It's not visible, but the pain is there. So not only you self-sabotaging yourself by trying to live a way somebody else wants you to live, but you're mentally abusing yourself along with them mentally abusing you?
Everybody has you've all said and done a number of things that is beneficial to everyone that gets a chance to hear this, that takes it the right way. Some people, well, that's not important to talk about that. There are people who will take what you said the right way. But I'm going to ask you to talk about some things now that you amongst yourself may not agree on, and others may not agree on, but I want your thoughts on it. A panel of people are right here in front of you if you're watching this. There's 4 individuals: Leon, Sally, Amber, and Darcy. Sally, I want you to go first as the co-host. I'm going to ask you to pick 3 out of what you will see. I don't know, there's probably 40 some odd things that I'm about to put up on the screen here on a list. Pick 3 of them and talk about them. This show is going to be way more than an hour and a half long. I'm not worried about that. But feel free to, as simply as possible, talk about 3 items from the list. And then Darcy, then Amber, then Leon. And then we'll call it an end to the show. But the realities of narcissism are often seen simply from this list many times. How to spot a narcissist is often posted throughout social media. But in this discussion right now, with the 4 of you as a panel of people, starting off 72 hours of talking about narcissism and relationships and recovery here on Narc Abuse TV Network. And yes, I'm talking so I can give you time to look at the list. So we're going to have Sally go first. Sally, pick 3 items off of this grocery list of toxic, bad, self-absorbed behavior that comes from individuals who are out to destroy instead of build. And tell us your opinions and thoughts on it.
All right. So I did pick three that I can see. My phone's real small. Love bombing, smear campaign, and no remorse. So love bombing was huge. I felt like that was part of the cycle as well, right? Their chance to, make you feel like you love them, to stay, right? To play with your mind. And a lot of, I feel, when this love bombing came on was around when, he wanted sex. That was huge. That was a huge fuel for him. So he would show me the things or act the way that he knew I needed to go through that, right? So that was love bombing for me most of the time. The smear campaign was when he finally knew that I was done with his stuff. I was going to curse.
You've been doing really well, by the way. I want you to know you're doing really well.
So the smear campaign was where he tried to drag my name through the mud after, when I filed for divorce. It was me that was the problem, but I did not run out and try to prove, for those who knew me, and that's all I really cared about, knew that it was not me. And
awesome.
Everything played out over time. It's been 2 years now. So they tried to drag your name through the mud and blame you for everything. And then you just, you got, sometimes if you try to, go out and retaliate, right, prove that he's the crazy one, we look like the crazy one. So it's hard at first to sit back and just let things, play out the way they're supposed to. And people saw, the truth comes out eventually. And then no remorse. That's the hardest part. It's like, I still to this day want him to say, you were right. It's never going to happen. And I feel like he's just moved on. Like, you can cut 20 some years off of being in this relationship like it never happened. And I remember at the end, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's right. That one. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, Leon, I still leave my pictures up because he's the kid's dad. I mean, this life did happen. He is your dad. He's still in your life, and he is. But all it's down to now is just a text. I'm coming to get the kids, or what are the kids up to? And yeah, he's moved on. He's moved on, and I have to say, he's left me alone, so I can't complain. But it's like, how do you not feel bad about hurting someone that loved you the most? Is what I feel. So those were my 3. Thank you.
Darcy, be our guest.
Thank you, Sally. I got a lot out of that, and I relate to a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess a lot of this stuff kind of dovetails into the fact that I have a mental illness. I'm bipolar, and the last dude I lived with, after he got off the couch with depression, he basically went into his hidey hole and never spoke to me again. So full silent treatment. And then unfortunately at that exact time, I went into a manic episode with the bipolar, and it was the worst possible just storm of behavior and whatever. It was awful. And I would beg and cry and knock on the door and ask him to come and just give me a hug or something. I just felt so out of control and awful. And he wouldn't say a word to me. He would not come into the house. He would not do anything. Like, it was just so controlling and so upsetting that he wouldn't be there for me. And all I could think of was my God, we went over your suicidal tendencies for the last 2 years. Are you kidding that you're not going to be for me? So in the meantime, he was also doing the whole smear campaign as well. He was talking to my friends behind my back, telling them about all the crazy things I was doing, and then making up stories and triangulating them so that they thought that I was saying horrible things about them. And I lost one of the most important friendships of my life because of that, because she believed still what he was saying about whatever. Anyway, so there's just, that whole controlling thing. And then unfortunately for me, twice in a row, I chose narcissists who had full-blown sex addictions. And so they were cheating on me the whole time, zero remorse. I didn't find out until the very end of the relationship that was the cause of the end of the relationship. But it was just like, oh my God, they have absolutely zero conscience about any of this. And in both cases, I said, now do I need to go get tested for, HIV? And both of them were just like, yeah, you should. So all of it can be a big fat mess. And I think that when they know you're vulnerable in any way, they will so take advantage of you and manipulate you and do things behind your back that you really wish they hadn't. But yeah, it's all very destructive. So haven't dated anyone since the last guy because of all of this.
You've been at peace then. You've been at peace.
Well, I would say there's a lot of,
at least from that.
I would say there's a lot
that's
of
a whole
anger.
nother show.
A lot of anger and a lot of therapy, but yeah, no, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Amber, go ahead and do that, and then Leon, you'll go next after that.
All right. So my big three right now are the excessive need for adoration, the possessiveness, and the gaslighting. So excessive need for adoration. My dad is a narcissist, and he is a former chef cook from Village Inn. I spent a lot of years at Village Inn. All three, my mother, my father, and my grandmother worked at Village Inn. And so my dad kind of made cooking his big thing. He only cooked when he felt like it. And when he cooked, if he did not get praised or complimented on his food, he felt that he did a terrible job. He self-sabotaged himself. He would wait for you to take your bite and just say, oh my God, this tastes so delicious.
Did you fake it sometimes? Did you fake it?
No, we never faked it.
Wow. Okay.
We're a family of mostly women who were very, sassy, drama. I want to talk about the constant drama as well, but, possessiveness and gaslighting kind of go together for me. That's why I picked those two. But the constant drama was really big for my family because we had a bunch of women. And my dad, very frequently referred to us as dramatic. I can't tell you how many times all three of my major parents in my life called me dramatic. And so I grew up thinking that I was dramatic. I grew up thinking that I always caused problems, that I always was the center of attention, that I was needing that center of attention. But the possessiveness and the gaslighting, I grew up watching my dad constantly question my mother about where she was going, why she didn't answer his calls, why she hasn't texted him back. There's a constant need for communication for him. He needs to know where she is at all times. Now, a big part of this is that I know that my dad cheated on my mom when I was a year old. It never happened again after that. But he constantly needs to check in with her in case she decides to be revengeful, because that was the constant drama between the two of them, was revenge. So he was always wondering whether or not she was cheating. And as far as I know, my mom's been loyal her whole relationship to him. But gaslighting my mother has done to me more than anything, but I know that it's because he's done that to her. And gaslighting, if anyone that's watching this doesn't know what gaslighting is, it's when somebody does not validate your experience. They don't validate your perspective. They don't validate what you know to be true. So when you're hurting, if something has hurt your feelings and you voice that to them, they say, no, that's not how it happened. No, that's not what I said. My mother, within 5 minutes of me telling her, I can't believe you called me delusional, within 5 minutes after she called me delusional, did not take responsibility for the fact she called me delusional and said, that's not what she said. And I was like, where are the cameras, man? I need to know. Why can't we have this on recording right now? Because I cannot believe that you're not taking responsibility for the fact that you called me delusional. But gaslighting is when they try to tell you that your life experience did not happen the way that you remember. And sometimes it could be a little different from how we remember because of the trauma that happens in our brain. Our brain creates holes. So it's hard for us to have those memories. It's hard for us to even remember our childhood at all sometimes. And our brain creates brain fog. So it's really hard for us to fight about things like our experiences and what we remember because we're not sure. We're confused. We don't have the full details. We remember emotions. We remember fear. We remember disgust. We remember what we felt, but a lot of times what was said and what was done is hard for us to come up with, especially under pressure because of the gaslighting, because they make you feel crazy or delusional.
If you had to say in this panel that you've been a part of today, it's just nobody here is saying that I'm this super duper number one professional, but I wanted to do this because this is what my viewers from Instagram wanted on Instagram, but I'm doing it here. They wanted just a panel of people, different varying experiences with narcissism, to just lay it out. Just put it out there. But I kind of like what Sally said. We should do this like it's a big intervention for anybody that's just Googling it for the first time. Mm-hmm. Run, just whatever you do, just start running. Amber, what you have experienced today and being able to get these different thoughts and expressions of emotion off your chest, give me 3 words to describe what it's been like, because we gotta let Leon go next.
It's been hell. It's been eye-opening, and in ways it's been relieving to go through this.
I like what Sally, you said at the beginning, when you saw her daughter, right? Sally said that this is a good reason to do it. Mm-hmm. Tell your story, because you're creating another generation that will be better, yep. Not one that will carry on the pain. Yep. You're an amazing 17, 18, 19. What are you? 15 now? I'm just gonna keep making you younger. You're 6-year-old. No,
I'm loving my 30s. I'm gonna be honest with you, the best years of my life. So I will always claim to be in my 30s right now. So
well,
I appreciate you.
I can't ask the other 2 ladies to chime in because they're only 27. So, but as the oldest person online right now with all of us here, I'm just gonna say this: the 30s is the beginning of you recognizing, of letting go the past, mm-hmm. and start moving forward. And when you can shed it in your 30s. I'm telling you, when you get 900 like me and 800 like Leon, it gets pretty easy. Leon, go ahead, carry us out on this subject with 3 things and anything else you want to chime in, and then we're going to call the show to an end, kinda. But go ahead, Leon.
3 things are impossible for this list, Pax. I've seen this list years ago. Like, I'm like, oh, why? But anyway. I was a serial dater, serial cheater, and a serial killer is someone that kills 3 or more people. I never killed anybody, never killed any women, but I killed their hopes, their wishes, and their dreams. There is a such thing as a serial dater. Okay. Mm-hmm. I noticed that when I was on the USS, when you get a chance, look up USS Stark. The ship got hit by 2 missiles in 1997, and this is when all of my narcissism came out. Oddly, I was supposed to go see a psychiatrist about what we had just witnessed to decompress. I was 21 years old. And I got into the hospital in Hawaii because my ship we left the Persian Gulf and we docked in Pearl Harbor. And I was like, the doctor said, my ship's corpsman said, you need to go to the psychiatrist ASAP. I was like, I was 21. Instead of talking about what happened on the ship, we went into my past, and I'm glad he did because that's when he diagnosed me with narcissism personality disorder. All I heard was personality disorder, and I freaked out. I loved the Navy so much. I didn't want to get out, but I got out. I ran. I was supposed to re-enlist December 20th. I got out of the Navy December 21st of 1987, and I ran away from my responsibilities. I stopped my therapy then. I should have kept going. That's when I started ghosting. So I was ghosting at 21. I wound up coming back in the Navy in 84 and going back into a psychiatric treatment. Didn't know that they would let me back in, but they didn't know. I didn't tell them because I went on my own. Serial dater, serial cheater. The 4 things I see. I know Patrick said 3, but this was my routine. A lack of boundaries. If you had a boyfriend, I didn't care. For gay women, if you had a girlfriend, I didn't care. Once you showed interest in me, we were going to do what we were going to do. My friend said, man, you know, what's wrong with you? You sick, man? Yeah, I'm sick, but I laughed it off. I was like, I'm not a cheater. It's not my fault that I have all these women. They know that I'm no good. And I would tell women, hey, look, don't date me, don't like me because I'm no good. They would laugh. But I was being honest because they would eventually find out that I was no good. And when he found out, I would tell him, I told you that months ago. You should have listened to me. So again, it's your fault, not my fault, that I date a lot of women, that I'm a serial cheater, a serial dater. It's not my fault. You shouldn't like me. I told you not to like me. A lack of boundaries. I can come and go as I please. This is the 20 to 40-year-old Leon are thinking. I come and go as I please. I don't care if you have a boyfriend. I don't care who you're with. You're still a part of my life. And so the door is never closed for me. I come and go when I want. I don't care how long you've been with this person. I'm still going to be here. So lack of boundaries, because I need your supply. If you don't give me your supply, I'm going to get it from somewhere else. Lack of boundaries because I need your supply. And for me to be able to understand that I can be able to get the supply from you constantly, I'm going to stalk. We call it hovering. I'm going to stalk. Maybe your social media to find out how good or bad you're doing. The minute I find out you're not doing so good, you're doing bad, the stalking, I'll come back, get back in so that you can give me my supply because like I told you, I don't have any boundaries. So he left you, he cheated on you, and now I'm going to go back and tell her about him because I'm better than him. Take it back because lack of boundaries, I need the supply. I'll stalk you to find out when you fall off and you're doing bad because I want to have continuous sex with you. And one thing that's really weird, that's really odd, but it's the truth, ladies. When women cry, it turned me on. First, I got upset, even when I was wrong. If she cried, I get upset. And then if I try to touch her and kiss her and she allows me to hug her and kiss her, we're going to have sex. So the crying turned me on. I didn't care about the woman crying. This is all before I went through therapy.
Oh, we lost you there for a second. We lost your mic. You still there, Leon?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were going to say?
Can you hear me?
What are the others? I can hear you now.
What was the last thing you heard?
Just that you knew that once she cried, it was going to give you an opportunity to go from there. Yeah, and then she had sex with me while she was crying. It turned me on. So the crying, initially it made me mad. But if she did not have sex with me and just wanted to wait for me and cry, I'm going to leave for hours, maybe even possibly days, because you didn't give me what you want, even though you were hurting and I wasn't. So a lot of times, most times when a woman cried, I would hug her, and she wanted to hug. Women want to be comforted. They want to be held. But I wasn't trying to comfort her. I wasn't trying to make her feel better. I wanted to have sex with her while she was crying, or not crying, or if she stopped crying. This is before I went through therapy.
And would you say that's the biggest hook, at least for you? Because that's what I cut off immediately when I knew I had to let go. There was no looking back for sex, never.
That's the number. Besides the power of having power over you and other women, it ultimately leads to, for me, it was sex. I didn't want your money. I just want a little bit of your time. I don't want any gifts. I have a hard time accepting gifts even now.
Sally, I really appreciate that you brought that up too. Can I add to that really quick? I'm sorry.
Because once I cut that off, she was gone. I think that's what made it easier for me.
Yeah. Once you cut it off, we get upset and then we leave.
Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now, says that sex is the one thing in our physical presence that allows us to feel a moment of enlightenment. It's the one thing that is our chemical induced in our brain with serotonin and dopamine that we are so addicted to having that safety and security in our bodies. So like Sally, I never look back for it anymore. I was seeking and seeking and seeking. Even after I had my daughter, I kept seeking and seeking to feel that connection to our higher power, whatever you believe in. And it's the one thing that makes us feel enlightenment other than true enlightenment of the present now existence. And I appreciate that you brought that up, because if anyone learns anything from this situation, whether it's your parents, whether it's an abusive relationship, that's a spousal relationship, you're seeking enlightenment. You're seeking something that's deeper than your being, deeper than your experience, deeper than anything that you can possibly describe. It's indescribable. And sex is the one thing that makes us feel like we've got it. And it's not that.
Leon, go ahead and finish the other items you had there. We have gone 1 hour and 49 minutes. We're going to need to end it in a little bit. Go ahead, please.
It's just for Sally and Amber and Darcy, of course. The one more thing is that, like what Amber just said, that the dopamine and everything else, I knew that I was her drug. Okay? So the problem that women and men have when they go to therapy is they stop. The next step you need to go through is rehab, because you've been addicted to me as a drug. I mean, I don't care how you look at it. I'm not in a pipe. I'm not in a Bible. I'm in a bottle. Okay, you're not smoking me. I am your drug, period. You're not shooting me in your veins, but I'm in your DNA. So if you complete therapy, you need to go through rehab. Rehab, and people say, well, I'm not addicted to drugs. You're addicted to that person. Rehab is being around people that love you, that care for you, people that's going to uplift you. That's your rehab. People that's going to pay into, people that's going to tell you the truth about the bad Leon, people that's going to keep you away from me. That's your rehab. Go somewhere and enjoy some laughter, some tea, some yoga, okay? That is your rehab. Therapy is not enough. Even as a narcissist, therapy wasn't enough for me. If I wanted to continue my change, I had to go around the people that I hurt and apologize, be around people that understood that I was messed up at one time, but I'm doing better. It wasn't about stroking my ego. It was by reassuring confidence, help me stay on this path, because I was a bad person. I was a sick man. I need rehab, not just therapy. You need rehab. Being around people that believe in you and say, okay, I got you. I know what you did in the past. You messed up all your relationships. You messed up your marriage. You broke up your family. My father did the same thing in 1976. I did it in 2007. 30 years later, rehab.
I have a question. You said, I want to end it on this. I look at Leon and I think of the word rehab. I look at Amber and I look at Amber only because of our conversation we just recently had, and I told you I wanted you to talk about this, and I think of ADHD. I look at Darcy and I see the word bipolar. I look at Sally, and there's a reason why. Just hang in there with me, everybody. I look at Sally and I see one word, and that word is, everybody's waiting for it. Wait for it. I see the word narcissism. Now, each one of you are going to think, well, what is he trying to say? This is what I'm trying to tell you. No one is going to appreciate this show more than the 5 of us, because we knew that we had an agenda. I wanted to showcase all 4 of you. Why? Because, Darcy, if I say the word bipolar, why is it important for people to understand and show compassion?
Anyone can have it. You know, it doesn't matter from what walk of life you're in, but you also need to know that you have to seek help. You have to get it. But it's nothing to be ashamed of. There's a lot to be ashamed of, you feel like, in the moment, especially when you're manic, but you can't wander around with your tail between your legs just because you have a mental illness. You don't shame people who have cancer. You don't shame people who have bipolar either.
Right. Why is it important for people, Amber, when they hear the phrase ADHD, for them to pay attention?
I learned that ADHD is a possibility of something that comes from our trauma. and from our malnutrition. And something I'm very passionate about is waking up to nutrition and what we put in our bodies. And I think that ADHD is something that people don't know that they have. A lot of people have it. And even furthermore, being a parent with ADHD and witnessing all of my symptoms in my daughter, because our children are reflective. They take on what we give them. And so it's not easy to manage. And even further, it makes a lot of sense why I was so abused as a child, because having a child with ADHD is difficult. Being a child with ADHD and having a child who's reflecting those things, it's very difficult. And I think one of the greatest things that Paxton could have ever said to me was that I do difficult because I was given difficult. And that's such a powerful thing to
what are you supposed to tell everybody I told you?
It's okay. I mean, I think that other people that have been told that they're difficult need to know that they're not difficult. They were given what they were given for a purpose, for a reason. We were given what we were given to learn how to cope, to learn how to do it in a healthy manner, and how to be there for other people who have been told that they're difficult. I have been told that I'm difficult my whole life.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes the people that say that think that they're not, and they actually are.
I am more powerful than my physical or emotional pain. That my I am just dropped down in my notifications. That was good. Thank you.
Leon, my man, the word I attach to you when I see you, and you end up doing it again today, was rehab. And now I get to ask this because this will be one of the last shows that I will do in 2021. And I get to ask you this, and I've been waiting. Why is rehab so important?
Okay, rehab is so. For instance, women more so than men will nurture and rehab a man before he goes through therapy, if he ever goes through therapy, and they will break their backs trying to rehab. Okay.
Yep.
But we don't go through therapy. We don't go through rehab unless you're addicted to drugs, whatever, sex, alcohol, whatever. We go through therapy myself. But I didn't have the rehab afterwards, but it helped me out because like Amber, I was doing, what did you call it? What was the word? Because what she got?
ADHD?
No, doing the struggle word, because that's what she got. What was the word?
Being difficult.
You were doing difficult because you got difficult, right?
Oh, okay.
I was doing uncomfort because I got uncomfort. That's what was given to me, being uncomfortable. So I was always uncomfortable, and I was comfortable with being uncomfortable. So things bothered me. The fact that I didn't want to love didn't bother me. The fact that I could not care did not bother me. It felt better.
They were your normal.
It was my normal. Thank you for that. And so rehab is very important because you go through therapy, and then women and men stop. It's been a year. It's been 5 years. Get around the people that care about you. Make goals and set your goal for somebody else. Don't ever set your goals for yourself, because if you don't attain that goal, you only hurt yourself. But if you set the goal for your mother, your father, your children, people that you love, people that you respect, if you don't attain that goal, it hurts a lot more. It hurts a lot worse. Okay? And then we can hurt ourselves. We talk about self-sabotaging, mentally cutting, all this stuff. But when you hurt other people that you love and care, and people that are paying into you, you don't want. I don't like letting people like this group here. I don't ever want to let you all down. So I find people that I don't want to let down. That's how I keep my word. You have to get into rehab and be around good people, good things, good times, good places, laughter. Yeah. And they always say, I'll close with this. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody wants a trophy. No, it's up to us to find a trophy in everybody. Like Amber has a trophy. Darcy has a trophy. Sally has a trophy. Pax, you have a trophy. Okay? I have a trophy. We find trophies in other people.
Yeah.
And that's their strength. And that's how we have to do it.
Beautiful, my man. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I'm leaving Sally for last because she was my co-host for today. She had no idea what that meant. It meant that I didn't have to do some talking at times, and she didn't even catch it because I was doing stuff. That's right. I was doing stuff. Okay, so Sally, my friend, Realities of Narcissism is what you do on Clubhouse.
Right.
But I'm going to ask you this, please. I see you and I think of the word narcissism. because you are a warrior against it. Each person has a label that we don't even know we may carry simply because we teach from that pulpit, whether it be bipolar, whether it be ADHD, rehab. We preach from different pulpits at time about things when it comes to mental health and relationships.
Right.
I see narcissism. You've got to spend time with these three beautiful people here. A handsome 800-year-old man and two 18-year-old women. I'm messing with you. I love you, Leon. I love you guys. I love you guys a great deal. You've been awesome to me all year. But Sally, please, what have we really talked about when it comes to narcissism today?
Wow. I think, sharing your stories, being here with you, I think it's the best thing you can do to spread awareness, because you're actually, with narcissism, you're putting a name to this abuse. A lot of people aren't aware of what they're in. We said that at the beginning, right? And I think once they do, what I see a lot of is they take a few steps back because it's overwhelming. They're like, wow, you're telling my story. Mm-hmm. And then they start to research and they come up, and then eventually, they hopefully step away from it. But I think, with narcissism, it's just a big bully. So you can speak with kids. And the way I speak with kids is my kids is not taking on the heaviness of other people. It's everywhere, wow. And that's what I felt when he was around. And then when he left the house, there's a peace. The heaviness isn't there anymore. So I really feel it's narcissism is a type of bullying, and it's an insecurity that they have. And it's nothing to do with us, and it's not for us, definitely not for us to fix. So that's my point of narcissism.
That was beautiful. A heaviness leaves. That's a great way to put it. You feel that heaviness gone for you, Amber?
Sorry,
let me rephrase that. A yes or no answer. So because we're about to end the show.
Yes.
Do you feel that heaviness gone?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm still working through it.
Darcy?
Yes, absolutely. And my daughter always announces to me that I have the happy house. So I guess I win.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Hey, you win, girl.
I do.
You win.
I know.
When it comes to the heaviness that many people experience, well, Leon, you see it, and sometimes people write you about it, right?
All the time. I didn't realize. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I didn't realize the heaviness that I brought to my kids, my ex-girlfriend, my ex-wife, my ex-girlfriends, the people that work for me. I didn't realize the heaviness that I was bringing until I went through therapy. Until I 7 months, I had no idea the heaviness, the hell that I brought into people's life. No idea. Was just going through life. I can't say aimlessly because I was in the military and I couldn't be aimlessly. But after work, you better believe it was going back to when I was a recruiter, and I did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And I blamed the Navy and recruiting allowed me to be a monster because I was a monster. And when women will call me a monster, I disappear because I'm like, they know me, and start over. That's how it happened, because I was addicted to being a monster, to being addicted to the heaviness.
Let me do this. I'm going to tell all of you right now. I wanted to have 3 days to end my second season of doing this. My daughters and I, all three of us, working to put these shows on. Now we're on YouTube, and this is the only way I wanted to start it off with you that are here in front of me. There were no other people that I asked to do this that said no. There was none of that. I got all 4 yeses, and I'm as tickled pink and as happy as I don't know what. Leon, thank you for being a special guest here and sharing your heart, your wisdom and experience. Everyone, please go out and get his books. Follow him. There's plenty of interviews he's done. Whatever you do, when you're going to go to Clubhouse, don't fool around with other rooms. Go and find Sally, a very encouraging woman with an amazing smile. And Darcy, I'm going to protect you against the red lipstick comment because Leon didn't mean anything by it.
I caught that.
Because I know you did. I didn't say nothing to him earlier, but red lipstick is her trademark, bro. So she might cut you if you were in the same neighborhood. Because I saw an expression on her face. She went like, "Did he just say red lipstick?" Dude, hey, Hey, her red lipstick made me change my shirt one day when we did a show together. I went like, I got to put a red shirt on. All right. So look, I love you, Darcy, because Darcy is the real deal. She'll talk about anything. So everybody, please make sure you check out Darcy, all of my guests on Instagram. And Amber, you have been pulling back, you've been making Shrek come to life, pulling back layers of the onion, getting us all to be on the brink of crying and nodding our heads. We look like bobblehead dolls here, listening to you. Thank you so much, my friend. Everybody,
Thank you.
Do me a huge favor. Say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Instagram plug real quick. Leon, say your page, Instagram, and then we'll go around the room. Everybody just say their page. Leon, you go first.
Leon R. Walker on Instagram.
Sally?
Sally_Polly_Hershey.
Okay. And
Roan.mental.health.consulting.
the dot family. Okay, Amber.
This is Amber N. Legato.
Okay, now everyone, please leave room for me in 2022. We're going to be back in 2022, and I'm going to be kidnapping you again then. Sally, any last words for everybody as my co-host?
Oh, I just appreciate, like I said, being here in the presence. I'm learning so much. It's like a reciprocal healing, I call it. I heal along with others. So thank you so much for being here and having us, Paxton.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Thank you.
Been great to me this year. Goodbye,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
Paxton out. Narc Abuse TV gone.
Thank you.
Be not free.